Hi there, and welcome to the Play Therapy Circle. Before we begin, please note this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not provide therapeutic advice, and listening does not create a client-therapist relationship. All views expressed are my own, and any case examples shared have been de-identified to protect privacy. If you're seeking personal support, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional in your area. Hi, and welcome to an episode of the Play Therapy Circle. I'm Kylie Ellison, a therapist, clinical supervisor, and play therapy trainer, and I'm so grateful you're here. This podcast is a space for thoughtful, soulful conversations about child-centered therapy, play-based work, and what it means to show up with presence and compassion, both for our clients and for ourselves. Whether you're a seasoned play therapist, a student just starting out, or someone deeply passionate about working with children, you belong here. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Play Therapy Circle podcast. I'm your host, Kylie Ellison, and I am so glad you are here. Welcome to the circle in 2026. I genuinely cannot believe I'm even saying that. And in true Kylie style, when we talk about, being organized, I brought my microphone, so I'm recording today. The sound might be a bit echoey, guys, so I apologize. I brought my microphone. For any of you guys watching on YouTube or the videos, here it is. I've got it here, but I forgot the cord. I've got the cord for the headphones, but not the plug to plug into the computer. So love that for me. So just going to kind of wing it and hope that this works, which probably sets the tone for 2026, really, at this point. So happy New Year to all of our incredible listeners and supporters around the globe. We are connected now with play therapists and people who love play therapy in 35 countries around the world. So I'm so grateful for any of you listening outside of Australia. To set the tone or I guess set the stage for where I am currently on holidays this week. I am in Bargara, north of Brisbane in Queensland. You can, for those of you watching on the videos, you can see behind me the water. It is just so lovely here. My husband and my kids have gone for a bike ride so that I could, jump on here and do this podcast. So I love that. We have been spending the week just recharging, relaxing. We've got a lot of really exciting projects coming up this year in my practice and obviously here as well at the Circle. So we're so excited for 2026. But I was thinking about the topic of what I wanted to do today, and I guess what I wanted to talk about before I officially go back to the Playroom as of Monday next week. So it's Wednesday today that I'm recording. So it'll be about 5 days that I'm back in the Playroom seeing all of my incredible clients. So I was trying to think of a topic to ease us into 2026 as play therapists around the globe. And I felt like just having a conversation around that transition back to the Playroom after we've had holidays, after we've had a break, if you've been fortunate enough to have one. I really hope that that's the case for you. So I want to kick off with our first topic, talking about the myth around the fresh start. I think that this is something really important that I'd really like to chat about, I guess, for all of you coming back after holidays and feeling like maybe you have an expectation of yourself, or maybe you feel that from others, where you've had a holiday, so you feel refreshed, you feel like you should be kicking goals, back in the Playroom, getting back in and connecting with your clients and feeling like you should be, hitting the ground running. I think that what I am starting to learn in my own self-reflection, and honestly, having a break. We've had 3 weeks. It'll be, by the time I go back to work next week, it'll be 3 weeks. And it's been so lovely to have that 3-week break where you can just spend some time recalibrating, I guess, a little bit. I think that it's definitely a myth to kind of say that, and some people might, but a lot of people don't necessarily have holidays and feel fully recharged and like ready to go when they step back into the playroom and reconnect in our work in CCPT. Definitely for me, a lot of what I've been focusing on and reflecting on over my holidays has been calming the nervous system. It's been something that's been coming up a lot on my social media, but also just in terms of my intentions for this year around operating from a space where we feel calm, we feel regulated, and so we can then serve the clients in our playrooms as well. And I think that when you start to feel that way, when you notice if you're becoming a little bit dysregulated or a bit stressed, and we go back to taking care of ourselves in terms of those really simple exercises, I'm sure many of you guys can find heaps on there. I really like kind of those breathing techniques. I think I've talked about it before, but really having a good kind of conscious awareness of when you are feeling stressed and regulating that so that you can connect and move and do your work from a much healthier space. So I'm going to go off on a tangent because that's what my brain does. And one of the things I was talking to my daughter about when we were getting coffee this morning was the idea of a word for 2026. I know, again, you've probably seen it on social media. It's been coming across my feed as well. This idea of picking a word that encapsulates what you hope to achieve in 2026, or what your intention is, I guess, for the year. And I was so excited when I shared with Chelsea. I was like, oh my God, my word this year is going to be thrive. Like I felt like for so many of the conversations I was having, especially towards the end of last year with a lot of families and fellow play therapists and just people in the community, I would jokingly, because I was trying to provide a space of support there where it didn't feel so intensive, but I would often say, are you surviving or thriving? Like, how are you doing? Like, it was kind of a scale tool I was using often with clients. And so I was like, oh no, I don't want to survive this year, I want to thrive. And then Chelsea was like, no, that was the year for last year because it rhymed. You say thrive in 2025, so you can't have that in 2026. And I was like, oh my God. So now I have to find a new word. So one of the things that I want to give you guys all an invitation to do, if you're up for it, and you don't have to do it, but to kind of spend a little bit of time before you get back into the playroom this year to think about what might be your word for your intention for 2026, because apparently I need to find a new one, according to my 14-year-old daughter. So if anyone has any ideas for me, that'd also be great. That I'd really like that problem solved. So I'm thinking about it, certainly thinking about it. So how did I get there? Because I think that we definitely spend some time obviously in that transition back, really wanting to, I guess really sort of set the stage in a good way when we're moving back into the playroom, and we all come with the best of intentions there around that. But I guess I want to offer that invitation that when we think about child-centered play therapy, it's obviously, and I know I'm speaking and preaching to the choir when I say this, but it's obviously not about performance. It really is a presence and a way of being and a way of connecting with kids. It's relational and it unfolds over time. So take that pressure off if you're feeling like you need to be on your game and right on with your skills and straight out the gate doing amazing things. It's really not necessarily important for us to focus on that, but more so about how are we doing and how do we reattune with our kids in the playroom, as opposed to coming in as this incredible professional. Come in with that presence of self, that congruence and that authenticity. And so how are we reattuning to connect with our kids back in the playroom? So I'm always reminded, as I know you guys are, of our incredible saying around trust yourself, trust the child, and trust the process. We know that is so important, and I guess I offer that in this first podcast for 2026 because I think we all probably need that reminder to some extent when we are coming back into the playroom after a break. So I wanted to offer that to get us started. So unpacking that a little bit more, I guess I want to talk a little bit now about that idea of that gentle re-entry for us. I'll talk about the child in a second, but I want to talk first about us as play therapists. So the first thing I want to acknowledge is you are transitioning to, not just your clients. So this is where, and this podcast has become so much for me around talking through, obviously, my knowledge and my experiences, but it's also a reminder for me, as much as it is for each of you listening, that we are transitioning. We've had a big year last year. I often find myself kind of saying, I can't believe that it's 2026 already. Like, how are we here? Like, how are we here? Last year, I feel, went super fast, and we are already into January. So I really just want to offer that grounding statement and reflection around us transitioning. So it is common for therapists who are coming back after a break to feel flat after the break, maybe feel a little bit overstimulated, especially if you've been away on holidays with family or friends, you've been traveling. I think sometimes, I know where we are here in Vergara is just so connecting for me. It's just a really peaceful, really grounding space to be, but not everywhere is like that. So if you've been to somewhere where it has been a lot and incredible experiences, no doubt, but still a lot, you might be feeling that fatigue. You might come back to the playroom feeling a sense of self-doubt and especially for those of you who maybe started practice last year, and are fairly new to the profession, this is kind of your first year back, and this might be a new transition for you, coming back after holidays, feeling that sense of doubt might be a part of it. Maybe also too feeling a little bit of that lack of self-confidence around your skills because you have had a little bit of a break and you're returning to the playroom. So I want to normalize that this is all state-based, not skills-based. Right? So this is around doubting ourselves or doubting our skills, but not in the sense of anything we haven't done before. So for all of you working out in private practice last year or in your roles as a play therapist, you have had some of those experiences, some of those skills developed before you had holidays. So coming back is more about a state of mind as opposed to your level of skills. So you don't need to feel connected immediately when you step back into the playroom. It's okay for you to take a minute as well. And I'm going to talk about some of those tips, I guess, for supporting kids back into the playroom a little bit later. But I just want to emphasize that to begin with, that making meaning and themes and assessment of stages of play and all of those really important parts of our practice, I would encourage you guys to consider to just maybe pause for a second and really focus on in that first week back and those first sessions back with your clients, whenever that is for you, to just invest in that time of regulating yourself, bringing yourself into the playroom, being really self-aware of your presence in the room, connecting with the child, being your authentic, congruent self. That is what is important, and we know that that is so grounded in our framework as well. So what is enough in that first week back, in those first sessions back? A regulated body for you, absolutely. A consistent presence, so feeling like you can be present and can be attuned to the child, and a willingness to follow again, because we are shifting gears. As they would say, we're moving away from holiday kind of slow down mode and we're moving back into the playroom, which is all so important, incredible work. But we are inviting ourselves as much as the child to be really conscious of being our tenets of CCPT, of empathy, congruence, and unconditional positive regard. And that takes a second, that takes a minute for us to ground ourselves in that space. So what would it look like to let yourself arrive slowly this week is my question, reflection, prompt for you. What would it look like to let yourself arrive slowly this week for your first week back? I will leave that with you to ponder. So what does the first session back look like in terms of what really matters here? We've talked a little bit about what that's like for the therapist, but what does that look like in our intervention and connecting with the child in the playroom? So really, as I said before, take that pressure off that we don't need to have big therapeutic moments straight up. It's just something to take that pressure off yourselves in that first week to do, is really going at the pace of the child, which is absolutely fundamentals of our approach, but not necessarily needing to put that pressure on yourself as well around insightful interpretations or emotional breakthroughs. It's almost like, and 10 years down the line, I'm only leaning into that. As I always say to you guys, I definitely feel like I am absolutely in my infancy in the CCPT practice. So I share my experiences with that intention. But I guess what often is important that I find is really gauging where the child is at. So it's not so much about catching up on lost time. I think that that's something that often play therapists worry about. And I know for a lot of my career, that was certainly a focus as well. We're taught in CCPT that consistency and predictability and routine for kids in play therapy is important. And I absolutely agree, 100% agree. But there is also situations, sometimes unavoidable, where we may need to take leave, or the child may have something come up. They may have surgery. They may have a change or a move of home. There's so many, parental separation, etc. There's so many things that happen that sometimes force those breaks. So what I want to, I guess, caveat that for all of you truly committed practitioners to CCPT is that being our congruent, authentic self means that we are acknowledging and recognizing when these breaks occur and supporting the child no matter what. So it's more about acknowledging, yep, we've had that break. Now it's time to connect and see where we're at, see where I'm at. And that's obviously not as much of the focus. We've talked earlier about regulating ourselves, but it's more about checking in of where the child is at. So why do I say that? Because sometimes we will have situations where, especially for our longer term clients, where they've had a break over the Christmas New Year period and they actually move forward in their therapy work when I see them for the first time back. So I want to offer that hope to some of you who are worried that maybe you would lose traction or you would lose progress in your work. That's certainly been one of my experiences. Obviously, every child is different. I have found that, yes, some kids have actually benefited from that break to be able to recharge, reset, similar to what I'm doing, so that I can reconnect with them. Sometimes, because it's the holiday season, it's Christmas and New Year, and it is sometimes those experiences of family connections that might be challenging or difficult. I find when I connect with that child for the first session back, they've regressed. And so that's another possibility that we might find in the playroom. So they've actually maybe gone back to, say, the aggressive stage if they were sitting in the regressive stage before Christmas or before the holidays. And again, what I find in this space, and again, I can only talk anecdotally, is sometimes for those kids we've been working with for a long period of time, they might just need a couple of sessions to recalibrate themselves, maybe to process some of those big feelings from that break experience. So if they had a tumultuous kind of Christmas, New Year break, they've come to the playroom a lot more aggressive than they were in the past. And it's been about offering a space for that cathartic kind of release of that emotional expression. I'm not there to kind of give them answers or find solutions for them around the issues that they're struggling with. My job is really to hold that space for healing and for resolution from themselves. So definitely recognizing that they may just need a couple of sessions to process that and then get back to the work they were doing before we closed over Christmas. So there's so many different scenarios that can come up, but certainly I want to give that invitation to everyone to not feel like you need to catch up on time lost. This is a really great opportunity to see where kids are at. So what are we doing in the playroom when we're supporting kids in that first session back? It's really around safety. I mean, that's where everything kind of comes back to as well when we're talking about that emotional and relational safety. We're connecting with them again. We're reconnecting with them. I'm really looking forward to seeing my clients next week. Each one of the clients that I serve is a privilege, but I know that it will be so nice to just connect again and offer that relational safety, that emotional safety for them to tell me about their world, whatever that is. So some kids will come back and they won't want to talk about, and I mean that through play, through verbal communication, through symbolic play, or all different types. They may not want to talk about that holiday period. They may actually just want to get back to their work, but it's really about providing that safety for them to do that if they need. So that predictability of presence, knowing that they're reconnecting with somebody that's familiar to them, is going to be so great on so many levels. So making sure our tone is the same, we're remaining calm. Here comes our regulated nervous system and that importance of that. And the fact that, again, it's the same room, it's the same person, we're putting those same boundaries in place, we're using the same skills as we did before the holiday season. So that in itself, for kids who have been connecting with us, immediately provides that sense of consistency and predictability. So we can do that pretty easily by just being ourselves, using our CCPT skills and reconnecting with them. So there may be, in terms of what we can expect to happen, I've been talking a little bit about that so far, but we may also find that they are either unchanged, that they're just picking up where they left off. That happens as well. Or they may be reconnecting with familiar play themes, but there may also be potentially some avoiding of eye contact, or just, I guess, a little bit of hesitation or reluctance. For our kids with high separation anxiety, we might see them struggle for a second before they come into the playroom. If they've been a client I've been seeing for a long time, that may be something I will be anticipating. I know for a lot of my clients, they really, as much as I enjoy connecting with them, they enjoy connecting with me. So I'm looking forward to seeing them next week. But if there was any of them that were a bit reluctant to come into the playroom, I'd be honoring that as well. And really in that moment in the waiting room, reflecting to them that we've had a break. We've had a break, and this place is familiar to you, but we've just had some time apart, and now we're reconnecting. And now it's time to head into the playroom. It's time for us to catch up. It's time for us to connect again. So really, I guess, acknowledging, showing that authenticity. I'm not going to talk to the child in the waiting room if they're reluctant to come in a way that doesn't, I guess, acknowledge, because that's my psychodynamic psychotherapy coming through. I don't want to not acknowledge the uncomfortable, because that's important for children to feel seen and heard. So making sure that we are re-establishing that relationship if we need to, and acknowledging how they're feeling. So how to be in the playroom. What do we need to do in that very first session, expanding on that a little bit more, to kind of acknowledge that presence and what that looks like. So we're going to slow our pace. We're going to slow it down. I'm going to slow down my talking because I need that reminder, because I talk way too fast. We're going to lower our expectations as play therapists for the first session, right? This is an agreed, everyone in the circle is agreeing to this. This is our agreement, unofficially. You don't actually have to agree to this. But in terms of what we're hoping to do, guys, as a circle for our first session back, we're going to slow our pace, we're going to lower our expectations, and we're going to widen our window of tolerance. Yay! We've got this, you guys. This is going to be so great. What can we do? My recommendation, if you're lost or you're just feeling a bit overwhelmed, or all of those things that we described at the beginning of the podcast, is go back to tracking for a minute. If you really need just a second to kind of ground yourself, more than a second, if you're needing a little bit of time in your sessions on that first day back, start slow. Lower those expectations. Take that pressure off. track more. Take that pressure off of making meaning early. That's important too, that we're not trying to interpret. And here's my favorite one, and I don't know if it's for everyone because it might not be, but sitting in the silence a little bit if you need to. Let some of the silence do the work. Whoa. It's pretty deep. It's pretty deep for Kylie on holidays. Holy moly. Watch out for this year's podcast, you guys. I'm getting deep on session 1, on podcast episode 1 for 2026. If you're unsure, if silence isn't your jam and you don't necessarily like sitting in the silence all the time, reflect feelings. You guys know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Go back to the feelings every time. If we're lost, if we don't know what we're doing, if we just need some direction, noticing that transference, countertransference, and what is coming up emotionally for you in terms of what the child is telling you, reflect that back to the child. Absolutely. Tracking and reflecting feelings. Remember, most importantly, that the relationship remembers itself. Let me say that again. The relationship remembers itself. I found that and I was like, that's amazing. I have to share that. It all comes back to the relationship. So if we go with that intention of that, adhering to our tenets and our skills of CCPT around congruence, empathy, and unconditional positive regard, we're going to use tracking and reflecting feelings. We are doing so with an intentionality of reconnecting with the child after the break to connect with that relationship that's always been there. Love it. Even if you feel unsure, the therapeutic frame remains intact. So we know that regardless of how the child presents, we have our skills of CCPT to get started. So we know that we don't need to have the answers. We don't need to have handout sheets. We don't need to have strategies ready to go. We don't need to have questions for the child. We are there to reconnect. So we have our tracking, our reflecting feelings. We're noticing transference and countertransference, and we're sitting with the child and reconnecting, being our authentic selves. Okay, I am going to wrap this up because I'm going to head down to the park soon, just as a life update for anyone who didn't really ask for it. I am here for another 2 days, so I am going to definitely take the most of it and then head back into the office next week. So I'm very, very excited to see my colleagues, to see my clients, and just get back into 2026 and CCPT life with a real intentionality around helping myself, and I hope that this is an invitation for you as well, in that grounding and that connection and that regulation that's so important for all of us. So what do I want to leave you with? Here we go. I want to give you an intention along the lines of this. My job this week is to be consistent and kind to my clients and myself. I'll say it again. My only job this week is to be consistent and kind to my clients and myself. So, closing arguments here, you guys. You don't need to rush the reconnection. Here's some of my notes. CCPT lives everywhere. It lives and breathes everywhere. It was at the shops today when I was, I have to share this story before I close this episode. Oh my gosh, I get so distracted, you guys. I'm so sorry. I was waiting. I'm just trying to set the tone here of what I was doing, set the context. I had gone to the shops with my daughter, my husband and my son, and Grant and my son were outside, and we were just lining up to pay. Like, we'd done our shopping and we were lining up to pay. And I was a couple of kind of people behind kind of the person that was waiting next to be served. And so there was a lot of these self-serve checkouts at Kmart. It's kind of like Walmart, I guess, kind of like Target in America, to kind of give context. So anyway, I'm standing there waiting, and I noticed that there was a mum, and she had 2 little ones, and she was frantically trying to scan and put things in her cart so that she could pay and leave. And for anyone who's had, my kids were a year apart, so I was in the trenches of little ones in shopping centres for many years. I feel like I've earned my stripes in that space. Anyway, I was watching, and the child was okay, but in the moment it was quite scary. Her trolley kind of shifted to the side. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but I think the child may have tried to lean over and it kind of moved the trolley, and he fell onto the ground. And you know that cry that little ones do? He looked like maybe around 2. You know when they scream but there's no noise because they're so distressed? That happened. And so I think for anyone who has cared for a child knows that scream, and you immediately want to go and help. And it was really interesting to kind of watch how everyone kind of moved around her. Like her child was obviously distressed. She was on her own and she had 2 little ones. I want to say that her kids were like maybe 2 and 4. There was a little boy and a little girl, and she was just, and when I eventually walked up to her, she had like sweat all over her face. Like she was literally working so hard to just get out of that shop. And I made a point, and I think it's the play therapist in me, it's the counselor in me, it's all of those things that I can't help myself, that I think that it's so important to offer support to others where we can. And so I went up to her and I just said, I just want you to know that you are doing an incredible job, and I can see how hard you're working right now, and you're doing amazing. How many times, I guess, we wouldn't necessarily use those value statements in the playroom, right? But really kind of acknowledging at the core what somebody is trying to do or trying to tell us or trying to work through. And this poor mum, she just turned to me and she's like, oh, thank you. She's like, oh, I'm trying to get this done. You know, she was just frantic. And I just said to her, you're doing amazing. You're doing amazing. Have the best day. Like, it will get better from here, I promise. And wished her well. And I think that goes back to absolutely our tenets of CCPT around empathy, right? I'm getting chills talking about it. Empathy, not only to our clients in the playroom, but empathy lives and breathes everywhere, right? So if we get that opportunity to be able to extend that empathy to somebody else, why wouldn't we do it as child-centered play therapists? It's what we believe in. It's our core values. So making sure that we're living and breathing that. And I literally live and breathe my approach. Once you live and breathe this stuff, it just happens without even thinking. But having that empathy, having that congruence, that authenticity, I knew as a mum what that moment was like and how tough it was, and that nobody else offered to help her. So I obviously wanted to go up to offer her help by the time I got there, because I was in the line and it was all chaos. But by the time I got to reach her, she was pretty much done. But just that idea of connecting in an authentic way with others, and recognizing that everyone right now is having a tough time, or not everyone, but when you connect sometimes, or you have that opportunity to observe, I guess, things happen in the community, or just in relationships with others, offering that space of empathy and congruence and unconditional positive regard. That I knew that this mum was absolutely trying her best, and I wanted her to know that. So I want you to give yourselves that empathy as well. I want to summarize this and let you guys go. Around not needing to rush that reconnection, and really just taking that time to transition back into the playroom as much as the kids in your clinic will do as well. It's possible that for some of the kids that you connect with, that they may also be feeling a little bit anxious or a little bit, curious about what the first session back is going to look like too. So knowing that they probably feel similar to us in a lot of ways, that definitely takes that pressure off a lot of the time. So that is my message to you guys. This was a very kind of gentle re-entry. See, there's a deliberateness to me doing it as well. And I've only gone into the 30th kind of minute mark as I finish, which is great as well. So we are going to get back into regular programming next week. I'll be back in clinic, so I will be recording another podcast episode next week. What we have certainly received feedback on is everyone is loving a lot of the basics of child-centered play therapy, and really just kind of understanding a lot of the components of CCPT. So we will be doing a lot of those topics in the coming weeks and months. We will look at topics that you could potentially share with parents as well, that are certainly targeted towards talking through some of the aspects of child-centered play therapy to help support parents and families understand what we do. So lots and lots of great topics coming up. So please feel free to follow us on the socials. So we are on Instagram, we're on TikTok, and we're on Facebook, so at the Play Therapy Circle podcast. So check us out, follow along. Each episode each week is posted there with a bit of a summary, so you guys can check that out. And we will keep connected with you. Please check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Please feel free to share. We are getting a lot of new followers each week on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I love it. So please feel free to follow along so that you get those drops each week, usually on a Friday in Australia. We tend to drop them. So make sure that you are following so that you get that notification. But thank you so much for all of your support last year. I am so excited for this year. Please reach out to us if you've got any ideas. DM us on the socials, email us if you would like to share the topics that you would like us to cover this year. I'm hoping to maybe look at some guests coming on as well. So super excited. Can't wait to share it all with you. So thank you so much for all of your support. Go well, be kind to yourselves and each other, and I will see you next week. Bye. Thank you so much for being here for another episode of the Play Therapy Circle. If anything resonated with you today, I'd love it if you could follow the podcast, share it with a colleague, or leave a short review. It really helps others find our circle. And if you have a topic or question you'd love me to explore, I'd love to hear from you. This space is for you, and I want it to feel like a conversation. Until next time, take care of yourself, and remember, you belong here.